Gear up for Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. It's your final word on sports all across the state. Here's your host, Phil Kornblum.
Initially, stopping the run, that's my first thought. Stopping the pass, getting to the quarterback. But, if I can't do that, I just got to try to disrupt the play in any way I can. When it's a tougher time to rush or based off the pass protection, I just try to get my hands up. And, it's all about knowing football. If you pick up things on the game plan, if you know the team's tendencies and things like that, it's easier to get your hands on the ball.
I'm definitely more comfortable. Me and Coach Sims, our GA, we've really, I think we've watched every game from last year at least 10 times. So just really broken down every game and what we could have done better, what didn't work, what we did good. Just really broke down everything and just a learning experience for us.
Hey, good evening, good evening. I almost said good morning. Teddy Hefner with you, joined by Dr. Rick Sanford, sitting in for Phil the Thrill, who is out and about. We're also joined by ace reporter Jared Rogers behind the bulletproof glass, doing the producing, Patrick Daniel. Dr. Rick, that little red button over there, when you have one of your coughing fits like you have in the morning, that little red button, if you push it, then people can't hear you go. Okay.
I thought that was you with the black lung in the morning.
So be sure and you push that. Yeah. All right, we got a number of things going on. The SEC media I don't know why we even pay much attention to this because the media is never very, very close. But the SEC media preseason polls are out. The SEC media preseason, all SEC teams are out as well. We'll go over those. Jared Rogers was up at the ACC media days in Charlotte. He would like to offer an apology to the South Carolina Highway Patrol getting back from the Queen City, but he'll check in with us in the next segment what happened today up in Charlotte. The Outland Trophy Award watch list. Dr. Rick loves these watch lists.
Yeah, I'm big on all these watches.
About 85 of them on the watch list. Yeah. And 4 Clemson Tigers named to the Outland Trophy watch list. This has picked the top interior lineman in college football. You're getting old when just about everybody, I didn't see Bronco Nagurski, but our Jim Thorpe, but just about everybody on these watch lists, I had the opportunity to see play. If you're, you know who we are. I've been around a long time. We got a great. We got an outstanding broadcaster on the show, and plus we have one of the best athletes to ever come out of this state. That's me, and of course Rick is the outstanding broadcaster who spent.
Thank you, Teddy. I appreciate that introduction.
Spent 7 years in the National Football League, and we do have some sad news today. Dr. Rick, former Masters chairman and Bank of America executive Hootie Johnson has passed away at the age of 86. Some people may not remember this, but he's a former Jacobs Blocking Award winner as a fullback at the University of South Carolina back in the early 50s, was chairman at Augusta National's famed sporting event from 1998 to 2006, was inducted into the South Carolina Athletic Hall of Fame, of which one of us two are a member, back in 2012.
Well, that's a sad event, obviously. Hootie Johnson was an icon in this state, obviously, with his
in more fields than one.
Oh, absolutely.
He was a banking icon as well.
I got a great opportunity years ago to meet Mr. Johnson. He was speaking at the York County Athletic Hall of Fame banquet, at the inaugural banquet. And boy, just a dynamic man. And boy, he'll go down as one of the icons in the state of South Carolina when you go back and look at his accomplishments, obviously, with what he did.
And he did a lot at Augusta National. He teamed with architect Tom Faggio to oversee some changes to the golf course, added nearly 500 yards in length, cut back on some of the trees, and had a second cut the rough to rebuild the course's defense against basically what was technology. Remember tiger proofing?
Yes.
The golf course. He gets a lot of the credit for that. He also was the one. Younger folks may not remember, but the Maskers used to they'd pick it up on the back nine. You never got a chance to see the front nine.
Right.
Hootie Johnson was the first one to oversee the entire day, all 18 holes on television.
Commercial free too, weren't they?
Well, it's not commercial free, but it's limited commercials thanks to the sponsors, and they have some pretty, they have some pretty good sponsors, and they have people fighting to become sponsors. I'm sure. He wrote there's some things that were viewed less favorably. He wrote the infamous letter to the past champions, informing them that they didn't want them around when they couldn't compete anymore. And he also he was also in charge during the Martha Burt, the women's activist deal down there, when he said that they would invite women, but they would do it at their own timetable, not at the point of a bayonet. So Hootie Johnson, and of course he was, as you mentioned, didn't he help create the Bank of America?
I think so. Yes.
So certainly a banking icon as well. So just been a moving force in our state for a long, long time. And also a member of the Charleston Baseball Hall of Fame has passed away. David Hoffman, a longtime low country umpire who was, as I mentioned, a member of the Charleston Baseball Hall of Fame, has passed away. So I got to be careful driving home today. We mentioned the media preseason polls. We're going to get to those in a minute. I do want to mention these Outland Trophy watch lists. Clemson lineman Tyrone Crowder, Mitch Hyatt, Dexter Lawrence, and Christian Wilkins. As a matter of fact, Jared, you're Mike Hott. Right?
I talked to Christian and Tyrone Crowder yesterday. Okay. Actually, I had a good one-on-one with Tyrone Crowder. He did not allow a sack last season. He said that was the first time in his football career that's ever happened. So sackless season and a national championship in the same one. That's an extended season too.
And I think Mitch Hyatt only allowed one, right? Does that sound right, Dr. Rick?
Yes, I think Mitch Hyatt projected to be a first-round pick also.
Dr. Rick's concerned about the Tigers. He's not sure that they can
go undefeated like you said they're going to do.
Hey, until they lose, I'm picking them to go undefeated.
Until they lose. Yeah. Well, if they lose, they won't be undefeated.
Well, they didn't go undefeated last year, but I'm picking them to go undefeated this year and get back into the Final Four.
You wouldn't believe how many Clemson fans I've talked to. Seriously now. Don't laugh, guys. There are Clemson fans out there that think if they go 10-2 this year, it's a disappointment. It's a disappointment. 10-2.
It is a disappointment if you're a Clemson fan.
Mark Richt got fired for 10-win seasons.
Fire Dabo Swinney for a 10-2 season. I'm not putting up with it.
You just won a national championship. It would be a disappointment. Really quickly, the SEC media preseason. Dr. Rick nailed all 7 of these in both divisions this morning on our show here in Columbia. Georgia picked number 1 in the East, followed by Florida at 2. Tennessee at 3, South Carolina at 4. South Carolina actually had 5 first-place votes.
Bill Gunner and who else was there?
I don't know. Guys were there. Tennessee had 3 first-place votes. And then Kentucky 5, Vanderbilt 6, and Missouri 7. Out west, it was Alabama, number 1 with 225 first-place votes. Auburn with 13 was second. LSU 3rd, Arkansas 4th. Arkansas actually had 1 first-place vote. Texas A&M was 5th, Mississippi State was 6th, and Mississippi was 7th. I was told Vanderbilt had 1 first-place vote. That's not showing up on
That's the beat writer for each of those teams.
I understand. Whoa, I got it wrong. Vanderbilt did not get a first-place vote to win the East. They got a first-place vote, though, as the overall champion.
Oh, Vanderbilt.
Which you can't do.
Which you can't do.
How are you going to do that?
And plus, that's illegal.
Like I said, who else was there? Okay, that's I rest my case. Right?
South Carolina had 3 players on the SEC Media's preseason team. On the second team was tight end Hayden Hurst and linebacker Sky Moore. And on the third team was Debo Samuel, the wide receiver. I think I'd have had Debo on the second team ahead of Hurst. But, of course, they play different positions. All right, Teddy Hafner. Dr. Rick Sanford, when we come back, we'll hear very briefly from Christian Wilkins. Also, later in the show, George Bryan III will join us. And also, the Full Monty.
We'll talk a little NASCAR.
With Monty Duffin.
There you go.
All right, be right back. Don't go anywhere. Teddy Hafner, Rick Sanford with you. All right, welcome back, Teddy Hapner. I don't need that much music. I'm hot. I'm ready to go.
Oh,
I'm
you're
not,
going to cut it low over there.
I'm not like Phil. Yeah. But welcome back, Teddy Hapner, back with you, joined by Dr. Rick Sanford here on Sports Talk, 800-956-7266. If you want to join us, hopefully we'll have time to get to you. We'll hear from Christian Wilkins here in just a second. Did want to mention the SEC preseason media teams. I don't know why the heck I give all this crap. But anyway, Jalen Hurts of Alabama, the quarterback, Darius Geis, LSU, Nick Chubb of Georgia, the running backs, Calvin Ridley, Alabama, Christian Kirk, Texas A&M at wide receiver, Isaac Nota, Georgia at tight end, offensive line, Braden Smith from Auburn, Martez Ivy from Florida, Jonah Williams from Alabama, Ross Pierzabaka from Alabama, Frank Ragnall from Arkansas. Second team quarterback was Nick Fitzgerald from Mississippi State. Running back Bo Scarborough from Alabama, Cameron Petway from Auburn. Wide receivers Antonio Callaway from Florida, Jamon Moore from Missouri. Hayden Hurst from South Carolina was the tight end. Austin Allen from Arkansas, the third team quarterback. You would have thought maybe Jake Bentley would have gotten some
I was just getting ready to say
there.
that. What is the most glaring thing you see on these preseason teams? The lack of Jake Bentley being picked on any one of the top 3 teams.
But do you think he's one of the top 3 quarterbacks?
Well, he's been getting the play coming into the season so far. Yeah. I mean, he's been getting the play in the magazines and all of that.
But all 3 of those guys are from the West.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty interesting, isn't it?
Ralph Webb from Vanderbilt, Sonny Michelle from Georgia. The running backs, Debo Samuel, South Carolina, Jawan Jennings, Tennessee. Wide receivers, DeAndre Goolsby from Florida, the tight end. And I'm not going – well, Sky Moore from South Carolina was second team defense. Not going to go any deeper than that. Once again, 800-956-7266 if you would like to join us. One baseball note, Michael Pineda, torn UCLA right elbow. So he is out for a while. Will undergo Tommy John surgery. Or as I heard one of the national radio people mention it, Tommy John has a torn UCLA.
It's not a UCLA, it's a UCL.
UCL, I'm sorry.
That's a torn
just
UCLA.
A habit. You got a habit of throwing that A in there. The UCL.
Since I'm a doctor, I'll help you here.
Okay.
The ulnar collateral ligament is the tear, okay? So
that sounds good with
all right.
A little white wine and clam sauce. Anyway, Tommy John surgery for Michael Pineda. I know that there are some misinformed fans of the evil empire around, like Kornblut.
Yes.
All right. Jared Rogers, our ace reporter, was up in Charlotte today. And of course, now, Jared, you talked with Christian Wilkins yesterday. Anything of note go on today?
Well, today, it was the Coastal Conference. So no Clemson fans are in it. No Clemson media. Everyone was kind of a more demurred, I would say, at the vibe. It wasn't as busy as yesterday. But, Mark Richt came out. He was really, really all smiles. Probably one of the most positive of all weekend about his squad coming. He's like, Clemson doesn't have a quarterback. And, he says, I'm not really scared of that. I've been in this situation before. Mm-hmm. Dabo Sweeney echoed a very similar sentiment. So those are things between the two of them. Paul Johnson today and I had a very, very quick, terse conversation. He likes to answer every question just in life with no more than 8 words.
Oh, well, that's
so
good.
I think I asked him 8 questions and got 8 sentences back. Among those, he's excited. His entire starting secondary is coming back, which I think any coach on either side would like to.
Well,
have
that
their
could be
entire,
good or
that
bad.
could be good,
It just depends how much yardage they gave up last year.
So
it could be good or bad.
They've got a lot of people back on defense.
Yeah, they do.
You go back to Miami. If Brad Kaya had stayed instead of turning pro, think how good Miami could be this year.
I still think Miami's probably going to win that other side.
Well, most people picking them in the Coastal. I think Virginia Tech could be pretty good as well. All right, won't you introduce us to the Wilkins?
All right, so Wilkins spoke yesterday, and this was at the press conference, so this wasn't our one-on-one, but he said something that really caught my eye. He had 10 passes deflected, which is as high as a lot of defensive backs in the top 25. The top defensive backs in the NCAA were looking around 15. And so someone asked him if this was a skill, and he said it's not a skill. It's more just preparation for the game.
Really just my job is to, what I think about is just being disruptive on every play, however that can happen. Initially, stopping the run, that's my first thought, and stopping the pass, getting to the quarterback. But, if I can't do that, I just got to try to disrupt the play in any way I can. When it's a tougher time to rush or based off the pass protection, I just try to get my hands up. And, it's all about knowing football. If you pick up things on the game plan, if you know the team's tendencies and things like that, it's easier to get your hands on the ball. If you know a team likes to throw the ball to the boundary receiver on 3rd and short on a slant or something, it's easy to anticipate those things and try to get your hands up. So.
Dan Tortora, wakeupcalldt.com. Christian, just what you can say not only about yourself, but also Dexter Lawrence on the interior of this defensive line, just how dangerous you are as a duo going into this year.
Oh, well, yeah, I'm really looking forward to what me and Dexter are able to do. There's just a lot of talk about that, but we both know we got to put in the work. There's a lot of, we both have a lot of potential, and we both haven't reached our fullest potential yet as football players. And I'm pushing him every day, and he's pushing me. And not only us, but everybody else on the D-line, Clee, Austin, all the other Power Rangers on the D-line. I'm definitely, pushing them to be their best, and they're all, pushing me to be my best as well.
Christian, I'll ask one from the podium here. How do you translate what you experienced last year to the kids coming into the program who did not have that experience?
Well, it's simple. Just, you got to let them know early that, we didn't just luck up and win the national championship. It's not an easy route. It's not an easy path. It's a lot of hard work, a lot of preparation in and out each and every day. And you got to be ready for each and every game. And this is a tough league too. The ACC is the best league in college football, and you can get beat each and every day. So you really got to be on it. Because you never know. If you're off one game, you could definitely lose that game. It's very easy to do so in this league, and you just really got to show them that the hard work's the only way to go. Hard work's is the only path.
Christian, you see more and more teams that push the tempo, and then Syracuse wants to push the tempo even more. You big guys in the defensive line, how do you contend with somebody that wants to play really, really fast?
Well, really, it just starts with, at the beginning of the week with the game plan. Usually Coach V does a good job of getting down like a team's tendency about how fast a team may or may not want to go, and he'll stress us all week throughout with the game plan. If a team likes to go fast, he's firing off plays, play after play after play, and we don't really get a chance to get a break, a stop, go over plays, things like that. So we're just really getting prepared, and a lot of it is the install in the summer. Just getting yourself, physically in shape, getting in good shape, just grinding as hard as you can now in the off season, so that you're prepared for anything in the season when it comes.
All right, Christian Wilkins, did y'all notice their best conference in college football? Mm-hmm. I mean, how many times did we hear that? You were up there. How many times did we hear that at the ACC kickoff the past couple of days? It's almost like John Swofford got on the phone and called everybody, or at least sent them a note or an email that's the talking point. And, they're not the best conference top to bottom in the country, but they certainly had the best year last year than any other conference in the country.
Yeah, we talked about that on the morning show this morning, and we kind of compared, how many teams were in the top 25 and out of both of the leagues. Didn't we come up with 7 in the SEC and 6 out of the ACC, right?
You expecting me to remember something this morning?
Yeah, well, it's hard for you to remember anything I told you yesterday, about 5 minutes ago. But no, seriously, I mean, I think that the ACC's come a long way. They've come a long way, and we think that they've come a long way because of some of the coaching hires that they've made.
They've made some good hires.
They have.
And some of the good hires haven't had time yet to really work out, like a Bronco Mendenhall or even a Justin Fuente, although they won some games last year up there at Virginia Tech. But you were there. Jared, did you feel like that was almost a talking point that everybody wanted to hammer home?
Swofford mentioned that with his first words coming out of his mouth in his press conference, and he credited Dabo Swinney for turning the league around in a meeting they had. But we can go into that on the next break.
All right, got another break coming up. We're at 800-956-7266. If you would like to join us, I'm Teddy Hafner. He's Rick Sanford. Hopefully, you know who you are. If you're not, I want some of whatever you're drinking. We'll be right back. All right, Teddy Hefner, Rick Sanford back with you. Also, Jared Rogers sitting in. Jared was up at the ACC Media Days a little bit earlier today. If you want to join in, 800-956-7266. Phil Kornblut is in Tahiti, I believe it is, or Cancun. I can't remember exactly which one he was headed to on vacation, but he's going to take a couple days off. Dr. Rick Sanford with us. And Dr. Rick finds it hard to believe that Clemson fans would be disappointed with a 10-2 season. Wouldn't you be disappointed after winning the national championship to go 10-2?
No, quite frankly, no. If South Carolina goes 10-2, I'll be jumping up and down this year.
But South Carolina didn't win a national championship
well, no,
last year.
I understand that, and Clemson under this run under Swinney, it's been unbelievable. I give them all the credit in the world. I mean, Deshaun Watson gone, so there's questions. I mean, there's why I say there's questions. I mean, one of my good Clemson friends just texted me and said, 10-2, somebody's getting fired. Bring back Danny Ford. I said, come on, man. You got to be serious. I mean, look, Clemson has had an unbelievable run under Deshaun Watson. But look, they've got how many 4 quarterbacks up there? I don't know if anybody of those guys.
5.
Okay. Yeah. All right. I don't know if any of those guys can play, and I can guarantee you they're not Deshaun Watson. So go back to last year. I had my good friend Jim Gilchrist here in town telling me the other day. Jim told me, and he's a huge Clemson fan, and Jim said, there were 4 games last year, 4 games where we absolutely could have lost those games.
Rick, let me ask you a question. You remember a guy named Peyton Manning?
Yeah, I remember him.
What did Tennessee do the year after he left?
Did they go undefeated?
Yeah, they won the national championship.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
T. Martin, right?
Yeah. Well, T. Martin wasn't Peyton, but they made up for it in other areas.
I understand that, but the game's changed a little bit since Peyton and T. Martin were back at the game. In college football now. I just have a hard time believing that Clemson's going to be as dynamic on offense without Deshaun Watson. I mean, the guy was a tremendous football player.
You got 2 first-round draft picks on the defensive line, and Dexter Lawrence and Christian Wilkins. A lot of people think Salim Farrell could be a first-round draft pick. And Deion Kane, I've seen mock drafts with him in the first round.
Mitch Hyatt,
first-round draft pick. I'm telling you, the Tigers. I know. I'll be a little bit.
All right.
I'll be a little bit stronger in my conviction if the morning of September the 17th,
after the Auburn game.
No, after the Louisville game. If they're still undefeated, because they have Louisville on the road. They do have Auburn at home. Early lines I saw they were like a 10-point favorite against Auburn. I got a feeling that'll change by September the 9th, and I think they were favored by 14 at Louisville. With the summer lines, I think that will change as well. But then you look, the next real threat would be Florida State on November the 11th.
But don't we talk about this on our morning show? We've talked about there's always that one game when you just can't, some teams just can't get it together that day for whatever reason. There's always that one game that's going to test you, okay, that you don't expect it, but it's going to be there. And because Clemson had number 4 at quarterback back there, Deshaun Watson, they were able to pull games out at times.
Clemson actually had 2 of those last year with NC State and Pittsburgh.
Sure.
They were able to survive one.
But
was not able to survive the other one against Pittsburgh.
It takes a lot of, I'll say, skill and also some lady luck. But luck comes with preparation. I understand that. But it takes some luck. You can go back to Clemson last year. There were times. They were on the ropes a couple of times. And
what luck is, don't you?
Yeah, I know. It's when preparation meets opportunity. Yeah, I know exactly what that is. Yes.
I wanted to make sure.
Yes, I know exactly.
And you go back to the Louisville game from the middle of the second quarter till about 3 minutes left in the ball game. Louisville pretty much dominated.
And well, they did
that ball game. Fortunately for
came from
Tigers,
way back.
Bobby Petrino. That's three years in a row that it's been that they've lost in the last quarter, and Bobby Petrino was not happy with that.
Well, you go back to last year. I think they came back from 28-10. They were down 28-10, and then have a chance to win the game at the end there. So, I mean, Clemson, look, this is an outstanding football team in the Upstate. There is no doubt in my mind that they had the potential to be as maybe one of the best defense, maybe the best defense that they've ever fielded over there. But you still have to have the quarterback that can pull the trigger. And I don't know, is it going to be, Kelly Bryant? Can Kelly Bryant do it? I said on our morning show, I don't think Kelly Bryant will be the starting quarterback by game 7. Okay, by the time they reach Florida State or whoever that is.
If he beats Auburn and Louisville, it's going to be hard to get him out.
Well,
of there.
exactly. That's my point. So how are you going to pull him out, even if you feel like the guy behind him's a better football player? It's going to be difficult. Dabo Swinney's going to have some tough decisions to make this year.
Well,
I really believe that.
Well, Jared, you were up there. Didn't Dabo say yesterday that Kelly was the starter as of now, but that did not necessarily mean the battle was over?
He did say that, and that's something that he's echoed a couple times this summer. But I will tell you, my conversation with Crowder, Tyrone Crowder, I asked him just what it's like being an offensive lineman, and if they raise, it's their responsibility to kind of raise that quarterback like parents. And he perked up and was like, "Let me tell you about Hunter Johnson," and kind of just sat up in his chair. He was like, in the spring game, he was doing things that I didn't know you could do. And if that's any indication of what it's like, he's going to see playing time against Kent State too.
Yeah.
Just because Clemson will go up in that game.
Yeah.
All right, we got some full phone lines here. Got plenty of people on the phone. I'm not aware of how much time we have. I got time to take some. I got time to take some phone calls. Patrick,
we got 4 minutes.
Okay, I got 4 minutes.
Okay.
All right. Patrick's busy doing something else. But we'll get to a phone call here in a minute. Patrick Daniel is behind the bulletproof glass. All right, let me get somebody on the phone line. Ian from Charleston. Ian, how you doing, big guy? Go ahead.
It's actually Steven, but close enough.
Well, Steven, Ian, what's the difference?
Hey,
your parents should have named you Ian.
Ian Steven.
Close enough. That's all right. I'll take it. I was just calling in. I'm glad to hear football talk again. That's the best part of the day, I think, especially on a Friday afternoon. So I just wanted to chime in because I think y'all just touched on how the some Clemson fans say they'd be upset somehow with 10-2. And I just wanted to say how ridiculous that is. I'm as diehard as a fan as they come. I was at the game. I was in the national championship game. I was all that. So I was actually at the Pittsburgh Loss last year. I chose the wrong home game to go to this year. But I think it'd be insane to think that if they went 10-2, you wouldn't be happy, especially with the transition in quarterbacks. Y'all kind of touched on it just now. I was going to say, from all indications, what I've seen and heard and stuff like that in the spring game, I think Kelly Bryant's definitely going to start the year because he's the experienced guy. But I think, like you were just talking about a minute ago, Hunter Johnson is supposed to be, the real deal. And what's crazy is he may not even have the starting job that long because Trevor Lawrence coming in next year is supposed to be possibly even better, they say. So it's going to be really interesting to see how it shakes out. But
Ian, I got a question. Steven, I'm sorry. Yeah. Steven Ian. Okay. Yeah. All right. I got a question for it. What about Zarek Cooper? What are they going to do with him?
He'll transfer somewhere.
I really feel like eventually people are going to have to start transferring because, Chase Bryce is another guy coming in this year. He's a 4-star guy. He's going to be great. And, it's just a logjam, which I guess is one of the benefits of winning the national championship is everybody wants to come start playing for you. But obviously you've seen a lot of transfers in the offseason too. So, I don't know. I think Zarek Cooper and even another guy, Tucker Israel's guy's got a lot of, ravings from the coaches. And he's probably not even going to get close to sniffing the playing field, even if he was playing great, because there's just so many other people in front of him. So if I had to guess, I'd say, I said 9-3 is probably their floor. I think, if everything falls right, I think they can go 11-1. So I think 10-2 is a pretty good mark to shoot them out this year. Because on the road to Louisville, it's going to be tough, and Florida State's always tough too, especially with Francois coming back and everything. They're going to be pretty tough. So, but I just wanted to say for true Clemson fans out there, I know it's great to be excited. Obviously, we came off with one of the best years ever, but 10-2 would be a perfectly fine year for.
I would think so.
No,
Fire Dabo Swinney, a 10-2 season.
Well, it depends.
We're not going to the Orange Bowl this year.
You lose.
I'm not going back to Miami.
Would you hush a minute? If you lose to Auburn, and so then one of the other losses, and you can still get into the Final Four. But I don't know if you get into the Final Four with 2 losses.
That'll be difficult this year, I think. I think you can get there with 1 loss. Again, I think
everybody's done
and
that.
even if that loss is to Florida State. Now we haven't seen
depending on what Florida State
we haven't seen this in a long time since LSU and Alabama were in the Final Four, remember? But there's a possibility Clemson and Florida State could be 2 teams in the Final Four again this year. So that's possible.
I picked it last year.
Yeah, it's possible.
I picked it last year.
Yeah,
they got Florida State at home this year. I think that's a
da, 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 da. Oh boy,
you don't sing very well. All right, time out. We'll be right back. All right, Teddy Hefner, Dr. Rick Sanford back with you. We're filling in for Phil tonight, Phil Kornblut, and the professor as well. And it is now time for the Phil Kornblut Memorial Recruiting Report.
Yes, it is.
And no, he's not dead, but it's his athletic ability.
Well,
yes.
Dr. Rick will happily give the Phil Kornblut recruiting report. We're not very big on recruiting in the morning. I have to.
Let me throw out the phone number before you get to it. 800-956-7266. We might have time for a phone call if Dr. Rick goes quickly here with the recruiting.
Okay, quickly we'll go through this. 6'6" Zion Williamson of Spartanburg Day, who everybody in the country wants to come play basketball for him. He drew a large crowd of coaches to Spartanburg for the Adidas Gauntlet AAU tournament, scored 31 points in his first game. Told GoGamecox.com he's still looking at several schools, including both USC and Clemson. He said likely official visits will be to Kansas, UCLA, and Arizona. North Carolina and Duke are also strongly in the picture. Can't imagine why that would be, huh, Teddy?
Not a bad list, is
it? Yeah. And to know you could just sign with any one of them, right? Defensive back, Quantel Raines, now we're into football, of Aliquippa, PA, included USC on his short list and plans to announce in October. The others are Pitt, Penn State, Maryland, Kentucky, and West Virginia. USC target, J.C. Horn of Alpharetta, Georgia, confirmed Thursday his decision to delay his commitment. He's also considering Alabama and Tennessee. Not a bad couple of other schools also. Clemson target, wide receiver Justin Ross of Phoenix City, Alabama, is competing in a major 7-on-7 event in Hoover. And he told
that's
Hoover, Alabama.
Yeah, Hoover.
And said AL.com that he will visit Alabama for a cookout on July the 21st and not Clemson's cookout the same day. He also can't make Auburn's event July 22nd because of the 7-on-7 tournament. He plans to visit Clemson, however, Florida and Florida State at some point. He said the people that are recruiting him the hardest, surprise, 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 Clemson, Alabama, and Auburn. All right, 2019 defensive end Latrell Jean of Lakeland, Florida, plans to visit USC this Friday. And 2021 quarterback. Is this kid in the 8th grade? Are you kidding me? 2021 quarterback Ridge Jacobs of Jacksonville, Florida, plans to work out for USC coaches at their camp July 21st, the day after attending a camp at Florida. He's considered to be a young quarterback with the potential to develop into a Power 5 level player. His father went to Irmo High School, so South Carolina may have an in there. One never knows. And that is the illustrious Phil Kornblut recruiting report.
Is that your virgin
What's that?
voyage there, your maiden voyage?
Yes, this is my maiden voyage into the recruiting news. I feel really good about myself right now.
Okay. Right. Got the recruiting report done, so we've got the room for you. If you'd like to join us, 800-956-7266. Very busy second hour. George Bryan will join us with birdies and bogeys. Unfortunately, I make a lot more of the second than I do of the former. We'll talk some golf with him. And then Dr. Rick, really looking forward to talking with Monty Dutton.
You better believe it.
Monty will join us about 7:34 or so to talk a little NASCAR.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about the problems facing NASCAR. I'm going to ask Monty some questions about that because I'm really concerned about it. You know, I love to watch NASCAR. I've watched it through the years, but it looks all the same to me right now, and I'm really concerned about that sport.
It doesn't seem like they've replaced the fading stars as quickly as they did in the old days.
That's true. That's very true. I mean, who are the faces of NASCAR right now? Jimmy Johnson, he'll be gone soon. What happens when Jimmy leaves? Kevin Harvick? Well, maybe.
No, Dale Earnhardt Jr., but
he's leaving
this year.
Yeah. And how many more years will Jimmy Johnson give him? Not very many. I'm predicting 2 max. Okay, so when Jimmy leaves,
well, we've discussed this before.
Yeah,
and I think we agree that one of the problems is they went to all these cookie cutter racetracks,
Absolutely.
the super speedways, and got away from where NASCAR was really born in the Southeast, places like Wilkesboro and Rockingham. I think we both really enjoyed Rockingham.
Yes.
And plus the old car of tomorrow. Heck, it's kind of hard to pull for a Ford or a Chevrolet or a Toyota or a Dodge or whatever. Plymouth, remember the old Plymouth?
Yeah.
Richard Petty's Plymouth with the big tail fin up on it?
Oh,
I mean, you don't have those cars these
They all
days.
look the same.
Mm-hmm.
They pretty much all look the same. So we'll get more to NASCAR. I know that we got a lot of football talk, and what is it, 50 days? About 50 days away from South Carolina reporting. I mean, from South Carolina's opener.
Yep. The SEC Media's preseason voting. I don't know why we even give this much.
I don't either.
Because speaking for the media, we don't know diddly.
That's right.
But anyway, Dr. Rick nailed these this morning on the morning show here in Columbia. Had all 7 in order in the East and the West. Georgia with 138 first place votes leading the East. Florida had 96 first place votes. Tennessee was 3rd with 3 first place votes. South Carolina was 4th with 5 first place votes. Then it was Kentucky, Vanderbilt, Missouri. Vanderbilt did not get any first place votes for the SEC East, but they did get one to win the entire league, which would be kind of interesting the way you could do that. The West, Alabama had 225 first place votes, 13 for Auburn, which was 2nd, 4 for LSU, 3rd, 1 for Arkansas, 4th. Then it was Texas A&M in 5th, Mississippi State 6th, and Ole Miss at number 7. Shea Patterson's a pretty good quarterback. For Ole Miss, but boy, they're getting absolutely no love. In the early part of the preseason, and they've got a number of starters back on both sides, but sometimes that's not good news.
Well, that's right, and the NCAA should probably give them a lot of attention as well.
Good
here,
point.
very
that's
soon.
A good point too. You have that. You have that. Over your shoulder as well.
I am very curious. How does Hugh Freeze still have a job? I keep saying that over and over, but I just don't understand it. I don't know how the man is still employed when you go and look at some of the things that they're being accused of.
The Gamecocks had 2 members on the second team of the media's all SEC preseason team. Tight end Hayden Hurst, linebacker Scott Moore, and wide receiver Debo Samuel named to the 3rd team. Now, see, I think Debo Samuel can play with anybody in the country. I mean, I really like Debo Samuel, so I'm not sure that that was particularly a good job of voting by the media. Jalen Hurts of Alabama, first-team quarterback. Darius Geis, LSU. Nick Chubb, Georgia, with the running backs. Calvin Ridley, Alabama. Christian Kirk, Texas A&M. That's a guy you really like. They were the wide receivers. Isaac Nauta from Georgia was the tight end. And you could probably just name Alabama's offensive line, although they didn't. The Outland Trophy watch list is out, all 197 of them. Actually, I think I don't know how many, about 80. Clemson offensive lineman Tyrone Crowder, Mitch Hyatt on the list. Clemson defensive lineman Dexter Lawrence and Christian Wilkins on the list.
Can't they just narrow these things down to about 20 players?
Well, they will
from there. But I mean,
from
the get-go, can't you just narrow? I mean, all you have to do is qualify to be a starter now on some team to be named on the watch list.
Well, not really, but they do name a lot of them. They do name a lot of them. There's no doubt about that. All right, coming up on another break once again. In the second hour, we'll talk some golf with our buddy George Bryan the third, and we'll also, as mentioned, talk some NASCAR with Monty Dutton. Monty wrote a book on Clinton football some years back. He's been in that Clinton area for a long time. Looking forward to that.
Looking forward to talking with George Bryan here right after our break at the top of the hour. Of course, Wesley Bryan in the British Open next week.
Yeah. Wesley shot 66 in the opening round of the John Deere. I've not seen the second round. I'll try to look that up during the break and see if we've got any scores on that from Wesley. But what a great story! A great story. We've had him on the local show, but just a great story with what Wesley Bryan has been able to do. Let's just say he has improved the bank account.
And certainly by that win at Hilton Head was awesome. I mean, that was
definitely has improved the old bank account.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, top of the hour, 800-956-7266 if you want to try to get in the second hour. Teddy Hefner, Rick Sanford with you on Sports Talk, South Carolina News Network.
stop now. More sports talk is on its way. Listen to the final word in sports all across the state with your host, Phil Kornblut.
All right, obviously Phil is not here. Teddy Hefner sitting in along with my morning partner, Dr. Rick Sanford. Hey, don't forget to follow us on Twitter. I'm at the Teddy Hefner. Sorry, that sounded a little arrogant, but I got blocked out of my regular Teddy Hefner. But the Teddy Hefner on Twitter, and Dr. Rick is at R Hill AA, which of course stands for Rock Hill Alcoholics Anonymous. I mean Rock Hill All American. So follow us on Twitter. All right, time to talk some golf. Our longtime friend George Bryan III joining us, our birdies and bogeys segment here on Sports Talk. George is probably putting out at number 18 about now. Yeah. Good evening, George.
Good evening, Teddy. Long time no talk to, and hello there, Rick.
How you doing, George? It's great to talk to you again. Boy, you must be proud of that son of yours, huh?
I tell you what, I am. He's handling himself in a way that, you know, he's very humble about what's going on and
super
working hard. And so, hey, but Teddy, where we got started with the golf radio, or where I got started with you way back in
many years.
Right. I remember that.
I remember when Wesley, heck, it might have been George IV, was a baby on your lap. You were feeding him a bottle at one of the SGA events. That was a long time back.
Hey, that's a good memory.
Yeah, and now he's out there at the John Deere Classic. Even par today, not a great round, but I'd love to be able to shoot even par at the John Deere Classic, and at 5 under now for the tournament. Although Patrick Rogers, who I'm not really that familiar with, threatened to kind of run away with it. He's at 14 under par, 8 under today. Man, those guys just play. They just play some great golf.
Well, and I will tell you that they get on a golf course like the one that they're on, and it's fun. It's and this time of year up in that part of the country is just absolutely fabulous. Last week, called in from upstate New York, or Western New York, really, with web.com, and you know that I tell you what, it's something from the U.S. Open, which was not too far from there in Hills, to that style of golf. It's almost like a different sport. And you mentioned Patrick Rogers, but Teddy, you and I were talking about a guy that's on the first page of the leaderboard, and that's you and I and Phil and a couple others were talking about how good some of these young players were back in the day. In that day, and Jonathan Bird was a child coming along. He had a great round today.
Yes, he did. Yeah.
First page.
He shoots 6 under today.
Yes, he did. And what some people don't know about Jonathan is he is not he's got conditional status on the PGA Tour. He's won 5 times, I think, 4 or 5 times, maybe even 6. And so he's a life member. So, but he's not exempt every week. So he gets limited starts, and he's been playing really good. He's actually his game has not produced the kind of results that I know he's pulling for, and you never can tell. He might just win this weekend. Then I'll take care of he'll be exempt for 2 years.
Now, doesn't he, George, didn't he have an injury a while back that kept him out for a while?
He did. And I have spoken with him periodically. He's healthy now. And he looks great. Jonathan Bird takes wonderful care of himself, but he has been healthy, and he's been playing really good, but just not posting in the tournament. So it looks like he's flipped that around, and he's heading in the right direction for this weekend.
I'm amazed, George, at how many really good golfers that are on the tour now out of this area. I mean, you look at Wesley, you look at Dustin Johnson,
the great juniors program.
Yeah, it's unbelievable how many. Kevin Kisner. Well, I mean, it goes on and on. Russell Henley.
It's interesting you mentioned that. And I've mentioned this with you before, George. I can remember when I was a golf writer at the state newspaper some 30, 35 years ago, talking with Hap Lathrop about why isn't South Carolina better represented on the PGA and LPGA tours? Because, I mean, it's a great place to play golf. And why aren't there more great players from South Carolina? And he said then, he said, well, we need to do a better job with the juniors programs. And the SCGA kind of led the way there. But guys like you, George, Tom Mason now doing a great job with the juniors programs. And I'm leaving people out because just about every PGA pro at every club through the state of South Carolina started doing a great job with their juniors program.
And you mentioned the one where it got started, and I'm going to fill in the blanks, and even, I'm going to leave some out, but I will make an attempt to make it up. Folks that aren't necessarily golf pros, Charlie Roundtree, but Hap Lathrop did. He Grant Bennett, speaking of golf pros, Grant Bennett, but folks around the area, Clem King, just incredible job. He's one of Jonathan Bird's early mentors. Then we go to Greg McBride, Bobby Foster here in town. Yeah. And then you get up and look at what Clemson's done. Charles Warren right here in town at Forest Lake Club and AC Flora.
Kyle Stanley.
Stanley. I mean, we can go down the list. DJ Trahan from.
Larry, Larry Penley's been doing a great job up there with Clemson for years.
Well, and just churning them out. Tour players are not just great players, but they're fine young men. And now I tell you, we got with Clemson and their women's golf program, South Carolina, we got it going on both sides. And I haven't checked the ladies U.S. Open, but we did have some locals at least playing good after one round.
I know Lauren Stevens shot even par yesterday.
And I'm glad you mentioned that. What I love about being with these experts is you pick up what I leave out.
I'll see if I can get some other scores when we're chatting about it. But both genders.
We got a U.S. Junior coming up.
Okay.
Shortly, and Nick Willis from Spartanburg. I know he's one of the qualifiers. I just spoke to him the other day, and his game is in great shape. It's in Kansas. So the other young man that qualified, we only have two out of South Carolina qualify, but Nick is one of those that grabbed the spot. Actually, there were three. I can't remember the other two. I will pick up again next week. I actually pulled it up on my phone, but my phone shut down. Or that program shut down. Okay. So,
by the way, Lauren Stevens shot even par again today.
I tell you what, she is some kind of a special player, and she is a wonderful young lady. I'm guessing we will be watching a lot of her on TV in the near future. And hey, man, it's certainly a privilege to have a chance to mix it up with you two veterans. I used to love watching Rick play his sport back in the day too.
Well, thank you, George. That's kind of you to say.
George, I came in this morning, and our producer Patrick Daniel here came up and introduced himself and asked if Dr. Rick was coming in. I said, yeah, and he said, yeah, Dr. Rick says my dad used to love to watch Dr. Rick when he was a kid.
I think he was trying to compliment me. I think, George. I'm not sure. But
not when Patrick was a kid. Now, when his dad was a kid.
Was a kid.
I want to make sure you got that right. Are you going over to the British Open next week?
I will not, but I tell you what, and it breaks my heart that I'm not doing it. But maybe next year, I am. I think I'm going to take off with Andy Ferris, a buddy of mine who travel. We're going to go to the World Golf Championship.
Wow,
which is cool. And then the PGA. And Teddy, it's one of those things I still have to work, believe it or not, or teach rather. Actually, I never have gotten a job, but I do have to teach.
Right.
I not have to, but I want to. And I have too many things that are fun to do, but I will miss that trip this
year. Yeah. Oh, hey, George, thank you so much, and always great to talk to you about golf.
I look forward to next time. Y'all have a good evening.
Thank you, George. Thank you so much.
George Bryan, the
great
third.
Guy.
Back when I could halfway play, I played with him out at Limerick one day, and he beat me like a drum.
Well, are you surprised? He's
not a
dadgum pro, man.
Well, he wasn't then. All right, got a break coming up. We'll be back on Sports Talk. Hi, welcome back. Teddy Hefner, Dr. Rick Sanford, Sports Talk, 800-956-7266. Mr. Kornblue taking the night off. The SEC media preseason polls are out. Georgia, Florida, Tennessee, your top three in the East, followed by South Carolina, Kentucky, Vanderbilt, and Missouri. In the West, big surprise, Alabama number one, followed by Auburn, LSU, Arkansas, Texas A&M, Mississippi State, and Ole Miss. Gamecock tight end Hayden Hurst, linebacker Sky Moore on the preseason second team, and Deebo Samuel, the wide receiver, on the third team. Dr. Rick thinks that 10-2 would be okay with Clemson fans. I don't know. I think they'd be disappointed with that. We had a caller earlier that agreed with Dr. Rick. 800-956-7266. Let's go down to Hilton Head. I think John's out on his yacht there by the lighthouse.
There you go. Yeah.
By Harbor Town. John, good morning or good evening. How are you doing?
Doing great. Enjoying your fellow show today. I may have missed it, but did you give the? I know you gave the SEC rankings and the projections for the all league team, but I didn't hear the ACC. Did you give it, or I missed it, or is it not out yet?
I don't think it's out yet. They have not released those yet. Probably be tomorrow before they do that.
And that'll be the order of finish of the teams too.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. That'll. But don't pay any attention. Media don't know what the heck they're talking about. But it is something to talk about.
Yeah. Well, enjoying your show a lot, and look forward to hearing more from you the rest of the evening.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, John. Appreciate that. Appreciate you listening down in Hilton Head. Let's stick with the phones. We got Jeremy. Not sure where Jeremy is. He might be on that boat in Hilton Head today. Jeremy, how you doing? Jeremy, you there? Jeremy, you get stage fright. It's okay, Jeremy. You can talk to us. Yeah, it's okay, Jeremy. All right, let's stick Jeremy back on hold, and we'll try somebody else. I see one more line flashing there. We'll get to that in just a second. 800-956-7266. Kind of open segment here. Try to get some phone calls before Monty Dutton joins us. HR is joining. We got some phone problems. We can't get to a. All right, HR from Columbia is with us. Go ahead, HR.
I'm just happy to hear y'all at night.
I mean, you listen to us in the morning, don't you?
HR, it might be morning for all you know.
just happy to be alive.
Yes. Is that all you called to tell?
Oh no, he's got more to say. You know that.
I actually called you for a reason.
All right. Well,
do you think Clemson can win 15 games this year?
Teddy does.
Well, I don't know about 15.
Well, that if you win the national championship.
But I picked them to win the national championship. I just picked them to go undefeated in the regular season.
HR told me that somebody's getting fired if they go 10-2 this year.
10-2 is going to be a butt gut.
Yeah. 10-2. That just doesn't get it done. That just doesn't get it done, does it, HR?
Well, no. I mean, because when you're dealing with facts, I mean.
Yeah.
I mean.
Well, the Irmo Bassett Hound chimed in on you here, HR. He just wanted to let you know. He says, HR at night, I can hardly take this.
The Irmo Bassett Hound can take a butt cutting in a quick heartbeat, and he knows he can.
Yeah.
I mean, and I ain't scared to do it. I mean,
all right.
Well, HR, what are you looking for from your Tigers this year?
About 9-3. We don't have a quarterback.
Oh no! I don't believe that.
I mean, honestly.
Yeah, honestly, I don't want you to lie to me.
I really don't think we have a quarterback.
Okay.
Well, you got four of them over there that they should be able to find one that can be productive.
You got Kelly Bryant, you got Derek Cooper, you got Hunter Johnson, you got Chase Bryce, you got Tucker Israel, you got 5.
And they got 21 stars between them, but I mean.
I wonder if Christian Wilkins can play quarterback.
he'd be the best one on the
team. Could you imagine the read option with Christian Wilkins? Can you imagine that? All right, HR, we appreciate it.
Thank you, man.
Could you imagine? That'd be like you trying to tackle Earl Campbell.
No, well, I don't want to do that anymore. I've been there, done that, and it's not a good experience.
That was a big youngster.
Oh,
he had Earl Campbell on the air one time. His legs, his thighs were as big as my torso.
Best I ever played against.
He was pretty good. He was pretty good. No doubt about that. All right, if you want to join us, like I said, we got kind of opened this segment. Monty Dutton will join us, talk a little bit of NASCAR, the full Monty, about 7:34 or so here on Sports Talk. 800-956-7266. Sad news from the Columbia area, but it certainly impacts our entire state. But the man who saved Augusta National is one of the descriptions of Hootie Johnson, and Hootie Johnson has passed away at the age of 86.
Wonder who will assume that role now on the TV, the Hootie Johnson role.
What's he do on TV?
Well, that's Billy Payne.
Yeah, he's been retired for a while.
Yeah.
But Hootie left a lasting footprint with the Masters, with Augusta National, and also left a lasting footprint here in the state of South Carolina in the finance industry. Helped create Bank of America, but he is the one who oversaw the lengthening of the course, oversaw a little bit of rough.
Yes.
In the golf course. One time there was practically no rough at all. He is also the one that pushed for television, or allowed television to broadcast all 18 holes. He's also the one that told Martha Burke to that women would be admitted to the club when they were ready to admit them at the point of a bayonet. Now, he later said it. He regretted the harshness of his response, but Burke led a protest at the club's gates in 2003. The Masters actually went without corporate sponsors for 2 years because of that. Not because the corporate sponsors pulled away, but the Masters just didn't want to put them in a bad position, so they went without corporate sponsors for a couple of years. And he's also the one. If you win the Masters, you get a lifetime exemption to the golf tournament. And some of these folks were taking advantage of that, and they would play 9 holes on Thursday and withdraw.
Yeah.
And that was kind of clogging up the field.
Yeah.
So
Hootie said, get out of the field.
Hootie basically sent him a letter that, at first he said that if you couldn't compete past the age of 65. Now, lady backed off of that rule, but he did make it aware to non-competitive players that maybe they needed to pull out of the event. But some people may not remember, but Hootie was a pretty good football player.
Yeah.
In the early 50s at the University of South Carolina. He won the Jacobs Blocking Trophy, which used to be, I think, a bigger deal. Do they still give the Jacobs Blocking Award?
I think so.
I think so,
too.
They
do too.
The Jacobs family out of Clinton, I believe, wasn't it?
Yes.
Monty Dutton joining us a little bit later to talk NASCAR, but from the Clinton area. But I believe that was from Clinton.
A couple of tweets that came in there. Great show. This is from Cannon. He goes, great show. So when are you guys going full time in the evenings? Not anytime soon, we don't think.
Not until they open up the wallet.
Right. Yeah, that's right. The Irmo Bassett Hound, for those of you who are listening across the state, you need to follow this one. He's on Twitter. He's an interesting character. He says, if Andy doesn't call to talk Mets, he said, if Andy doesn't call to talk Mets baseball and BP doesn't call to talk about firing a Tar Heel coach, then this show must come to an end.
The show sucks. I will be back. Monty Dutton will join us to talk some NASCAR, the full Monty.
That's
all right.
Right.
I'm going to the bathroom. I'll be back in about 10 minutes.
The latest on this weekend's race is around the corner. The full Monty on NASCAR is next. The latest on this weekend's race is around the corner. The full Monty on NASCAR is next. This is Sports Talk.
Hi, Monty Dutton, my old barbecue eating buddy from Clinton, about to join us to talk a little NASCAR. And Monty, I got Rick Sanford with us. I think you and he might be the only two big NASCAR fans left in South Carolina.
I hope they stir up a few of them come Labor Day.
I tell you, Monty, I'm worried about NASCAR. I'm very concerned. What are they going to do about the face of NASCAR? I mean, Dale Jr.'s leaving. They won't go back to the old tracks. It's driving me crazy. Rockingham, they need to go back to. They need to go to North Wilkesboro. They need to get out of Kansas. They need to cut that Western circuit off and get a face of NASCAR, please.
Well, a lot of that is passed on beyond rescue. It would take a great deal of money to prepare North Wilkesboro to race again. It's a sad thing. It's really the place is falling in. But part of it is normal and unavoidable because generations do change.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm old enough that I can remember when Darrell Waltrip upset the apple cart, and a lot of people resented him because he came along at the end of the heyday of Petty and Pearson, Allison, all those.
Mm-hmm.
And so, it's frustrating for me because the people that were my best sources, the people that I knew the best, the people that I enjoyed writing about the most are passing along. I wrote books about Jeff Gordon and Tony Stewart. Carl Edwards' stepfather just retired from the journalism department of the University of Missouri. He and I were good friends. I stayed overnight in their house a couple of times. And so there are a lot of people right now. I very much understand the difficulty of fans because when I went back to the track at Charlotte in May, what I was seeking out was people who weren't cardboard because, and part of it's because we just don't know them yet.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, the novel about stock car racing that I just wrote, was basically about my premise that there's nobody around today who reminds me even remotely of Harry Gant, say.
Mm-hmm.
And so I said, well, what if a kid who's 19 years old, wild as can be, along today? And I said, well, NASCAR would eat him alive. And that's sort of the premise of the novel, which is called Lightning in a Bottle.
Wow.
But apart from my blatant plug there,
but you did it really professionally.
But I mean, part of it is that I'm watching from a distance, and so I don't know what makes these kids tick. And all I see is the recitation of sponsors and everybody seeming like they're sort of conditioned robots.
Well,
but
it's true. That's a great
perspective
analogy
of mine, but it's one that people at home have too.
Yeah, and that's a great perspective because the cars even look the same now. I mean, NASCAR, don't you think NASCAR needs to go back to the motor oil companies and the gasoline companies and get away from Viagra and all these other things?
Viagra.
Right? I mean, come on. I mean, the Viagra car. I'm not driving the Viagra car, all right?
Yeah, wait a few years, big boy.
Well, I think that, the money, like in every other sport, the money has gone through the roof. And one of the things that drives me crazy, and Humpy Wheeler has talked about it from time to time, is that it used to be when I started covering racing, I could look up and immediately identify the Wood Brothers car and Richard Petty.
Yep.
And now they have a different paint job every week. Not only that, but a lot of them are really ugly because they'll have something like a mainly yellow car for one sponsor with a ridiculously contrasting rear end that has a little space for the other guy who's going to be the primary one next week. And so it's sort of confusing because you can't, first of all, you mentioned that you can't tell the different mates apart, but you can't tell the different cars apart. You know, it's not.
I can't tell a Ford from
you know, they take the camouflage uniforms of baseball teams so far out on the extreme that I mean, there's nothing. You know, when I look at one of those camouflage uniforms and it say red, or Furman, where I went to school, wears some violet ones, and I always think to myself from the Army, I was like, where's the Army hiding, in a rose garden?
I can't tell. No, really, Monty, I can't tell a Chevrolet from a Ford from a Toyota anymore.
Well, they're more distinctive now than they were with the COTs with the wings on the back of a few years back. They're more distinctive. You know, first of all, you hear a lot of fans who say they need to be real stock cars. They need to do that. Well, a lot of the reason they aren't anymore, some of it is to make them go faster, but part of it is the safety requirements. And also, if you went back into it, the 80s is when it started. And it used to, you know, there used to be, this is how it's gone sort of, I call it socialized racing. If you go back in time, what first happened was, it used to be that if the Fords came to Daytona and they were a little down on horsepower, they worked on the aerodynamics. Or if they had a car that was a dog aerodynamically, they worked on the engine. It was sort of like pure free enterprise, so to speak, where the market took care of it, sort of. And then NASCAR started equalizing. It started being a case where Ford would, Ford or Chevy, whichever one had the disadvantage, would start lobbying for changes. And you recall early examples of that. Do you recall in the late 80s when they put the rear window glass in the Chevys and the Pontiacs?
Yes.
That made them slick against the Ford, there's sort of Aero Thunderbirds that Bill Elliott drove.
Yes.
Well, they started doing that, and then we went through this process where today, if the teams had to figure out things for themselves, they wouldn't be able to. They'd have to go talk to Junior Johnson. And so it's become a case where it's gone from the responsibility of the teams to go fast to NASCAR to make everybody fast.
Well,
and that's just I mean, you couldn't go back to 30 years ago. It would take 20 years to go back 30 years.
Well, the NASCAR point system, that changes more than Teddy's girlfriend on date nights over there. I'm telling you, it's unbelievable. I can't keep up with all these segments. It drives me crazy. I mean, what is it?
I think that's true for me, because invariably it gets you where you just you go, okay, I look up all the rules, I read them all, and there's still, I could get tested on it tomorrow if I crammed all night. But what you end up doing is you just rely. You just say yeah, and then you basically, when the chase comes, they'll tell you. It reminds me of the old baseball novel, Bang the Drum Slowly, that a movie was made from.
That's right.
And the ball players used to take advantage of the fans, and they would sit there, and the fans would come in the motels back in the 60s, and they'd be sitting there playing cards, and a fan would come down, and he'd say, hey, you want to join us? We're playing. And the game they played was Tag War. That stands for the exciting game without any rules.
Mm-hmm.
And so the ball players would play a game where no matter what the fan had, it would lose. You'd say, Fred, turn what you got. I got 3 aces. And that's good, Fred, but it doesn't beat a double Swahili, which is a 3, a 7, and a 9. and that's sort of the way NASCAR is now.
Yeah.
We have to trust them because we can't figure it out ourselves.
Well, Mike, it's been great. We appreciate having you on today. Boy, it's nice to hear NASCAR still alive.
You didn't even mention New Hampshire.
Yeah. Oh, Loudon. They're at Loudon this weekend, right?
Yeah, and the Yankees are in Boston. That's what's got me upset.
Hey, Monty, we pray. Good to talk to you, Monty.
Nice talking to y'all.
All right.
Real quickly, a Harry Gant story. I got Harry Gant when I was covering racing. I got Harry Gant to call my mother and wish her a happy birthday one year.
Yeah.
To this day, my mother still does not believe that was really Harry Gant.
And it was.
Oh, yeah. It was really. Yeah. I mean, and that was
used
something.
to cover when you were.
Yeah,
when
I
you
covered
were
NASCAR for a couple of years.
Yeah.
And that was something that you could get them to do that back in those days.
Yeah,
I lost Richard Petty's phone number. Remember?
Yeah.
Well, ask him for it again. He says, buddy, I don't just give that number to anybody.
That's right.
All right, we'll be back. Appreciate Monty being with us with the full Monty. We got some time for your phone calls, 800-956-7266. Get back to some football talk here on Sport Talk. Where's Chewbacca? Chewbacca spit.
Oh, gosh.
All right, 800-956-7266 if you would like to join us. Are you Clemson fans really that worried about your quarterback?
They better be.
They got bunches of people.
I don't care. They haven't got one guy that's lined up and played yet. Have they? Kelly Bryant. How many snaps did he have last year?
You think I can't tell you that?
No. Yes, you can. That's why I asked you. I know you could tell me that.
Take me a second to look it up. My trusty Athlon magazine.
Clemson's going to be very good, okay? But I don't think you can throw out we're going to be undefeated right now. I just don't see that.
He completed 67% of his passes.
And how many did he throw?
9. He was
all in one game?
6 out of 9 for 48 yards.
All in one game?
No, I don't think so. He played more than one game.
But
that's funny. I mean, Dabo said at the ACC kickoff that he is the quarterback for now, but the competition is still open. Hey, baseball real quickly. Tim Tebow, an RBI triple for Port St. Lucie. His hitting streak is now 12 games.
He's been better at Port St. Lucie than he was in Columbia.
He's killing it down there.
Yeah.
He's killing it. So good job there with Tim Tebow. Michael Pineda. I know there are a lot of misguided Yankee fans in the state. Michael Pineda, torn UCL. Are you happy? Are you proud of me? I didn't throw A in there.
Yeah.
A torn UCL. Yeah, I did it a second time.
You did it again.
Anyway, in his right elbow, he will undergo Tommy John surgery.
That's
he's going to be missing.
That's a serious loss. Don't you agree?
Yeah, you're talking about 18-month recovery. Period there. Mike, maybe that's good for Jordan Montgomery. Maybe that's good for Tyler Webb. No, they traded him.
That's right. Well, we hadn't talked that much Gamecock football tonight. We need to kind of talk a little bit about that, I think, too.
Well, we
mentioned some Clemson stuff. I know we did the media days, but and Teddy and I are both of the opinion, I think, that if you just look at South Carolina on paper going into this season, 6-6, 7-5.
I think 7-5 would be an outstanding season.
And I've said this: if Will Muschamp wins 8 games with this team this year, he should be the SEC Coach of the Year, without a doubt.
Just beat Kentucky for a change.
Oh, it's Kentucky, for goodness sake.
Yeah, well, South Carolina had gotten to the point where I thought they had surpassed Kentucky. When you think of the SEC East for a while there,
don't say it.
It was. Don't say what?
Don't say it. Don't say Kentucky's surpassed South Carolina.
They beat them 3 straight times.
I know that, but I just can't. I can't wrap my fingers around that one. I just can't do it. It's hard to believe.
South Carolina last year was 6-7. Kentucky was 7-6. But
hard to believe.
But South Carolina, for years, it was they've got to catch Georgia and Florida and Tennessee, and then they went that stretch with Coach Spurrier where they had passed Tennessee, in my opinion, when Tennessee, for whatever reason, made their change with Philip Fulmer, and they were beating Georgia and Florida at times as well. Couldn't do it every in the same year though. So they missed a golden opportunity with those 11-2 teams to win the East. They won the East in 2010. With the team that wound up 10-5 that year, I think
9-5 they win it,
but then they won a bowl game. Yeah. But anyway, I do think the Gamecocks have slipped behind Tennessee. Right? I mean, Tennessee did win 9 games last year, even though they were wanting to fire Butch Jones now. I think they slipped behind the Vols, but have they slipped behind Kentucky?
I don't think so.
They've lost to them 3 straight times.
I know that, but I just don't think that they're behind Kentucky. I just don't think. I can't. I know they've lost 3 years in a row. I understand that, okay? But I think there were some circumstances around those losses. I still think last year's football team that lost to Kentucky was a better football team than Kentucky, okay? I just think you look at those.
Score?
Yeah, just couldn't score. Yep. And you remember, now Bentley wasn't playing then, and I'm not saying Bentley would have made the total difference, but I do think that they would have. It absolutely wouldn't have hurt.
Of course, at that point, he may have not been ready.
Right.
The Bentley that came in later in the year. That NC State opener is going to be huge for the Gamecocks. If South Carolina can beat NC State and they're a 5-point underdog, then they go on the road to Missouri. That's a game they should win.
Yes.
Then they got Kentucky at home. That's a game they should win.
That's right.
And then they got Louisiana Tech at home. Heck, that might be the toughest of those 3 right there.
Yeah, it might be.
With Skip Holtz. But they should win that game. And then you go out to Texas A&M. You got a chance to go to Texas A&M 3 or what was that, before?
4-0.
Now they haven't had any success against Texas A&M, but who knows? By that time of the year, Kevin Sumlin might be heck, he might be gone.
Hey, don't forget where he opens up this year at UCLA. You know, so yeah, you're exactly right. South Carolina's got a golden opportunity with those first 4 games. Those games are crucial to their final record, if you ask me. Those first 4 games are crucial because they're going to get into the meat of that schedule. You don't forget now, this is a tougher schedule for South Carolina. You got to go to Tennessee. You got to go to Georgia. You got to play Clemson at home still. You got to play Florida at home still. So you got the back end that's pretty loaded up. So you better get your wins early on. It's going to be crucial. And I do agree with you. South Carolina, NC State opener, South Carolina needs to win that football game.
And Texas A&M plays Arkansas, who was picked 4th by the media behind Alabama, Auburn, and LSU in the West. They play Arkansas the week before they play the Gamecocks. But I mean, on the road, I can't say they're going to beat Texas A&M on the road.
Well, it's hard to pick that, but it's like you said. I mean, we don't have any idea circumstance-wise what it might be like at Texas A&M, like at that point, you know. And if South Carolina can get off to and like you said, let me mention that. Like you said, Louisiana Tech might be the toughest of those first 4 games. That
well, not the first 4, but
well,
I mean, I don't think they're tougher than NC State.
Well, yeah, but
I'm talking about Missouri, Kentucky.
Yeah,
right. Those 3.
Yes, but you remember Louisiana Tech won 9 games last year, and they're projected to win 9 again this year.
Then they won a bowl game.
Yes, won a bowl game. Skip Holtz. They'll have some incentive coming in here as a head football coach.
Well, you know, Skip will have incentive because Skip was promised that he would succeed his dad here.
Yes,
at South Carolina, and of course it didn't work out. Now, understandably, it didn't work out, and I've talked to Skip about it, and he certainly understood that if you've got a chance to hire Steve Spurrier, I mean, you take that, you make that move,
right?
But he was, and Mike McGee probably would not admit that, but he was promised that job. But Louisiana Tech won, as you said, 9 games and beat Navy in a bowl game.
Who was a good football team? Navy had a good football team.
Navy's always, and Navy's like Georgia Tech when they're good. They're hard to prepare for. Even Wofford.
Yes,
they're really very, very difficult to prepare for. But I find it interesting that Clemson fans are so concerned about the quarterback position. I mean, you've got Zerrick Cooper, former Elite 11 selection. You've got Kelly Bryant, that is the most experienced. We're not sure he's the most talented. Chase Bryce, a former Elite 11 guy. Hunter Johnson, a former Elite 11 guy. And, of course, you got Trevor Lawrence coming in.
The one that I don't understand is why Cooper is just not getting any play. Isn't he more like Watson than any of these other quarterbacks?
Yeah, I think so.
And you know, that to me seemed to be the offense that made Clemson jail, was that type of quarterback.
And he's gone through a full season.
Yeah,
he has gone through a full season. He is a redshirt freshman. The other kid, Hunter Johnson, went through the spring, and see, I've heard nothing but good things about
fantastic
Hunter Johnson. He's a guy that I heard can really play.
Well, if I'm a Clemson fan, hey, you got a lot to look forward to, but you still got that question at quarterback. And I know that, you know, that may sound negative, and it's not meant to be negative. I think they've got many options there, but still, you know, if you're going to miss Deshaun Watson, you are going to miss him. There's just no way around. Anybody would miss him. He was a tremendous football player.
All right, we've had some fun. Appreciate Phil inviting us by. I want to thank Patrick Daniel behind the Bulletproof Glass for helping us out as producer, and also Jared Rogers, who was in earlier.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we really appreciate the opportunity.
Don't forget to listen to us in the morning if you're in Columbia.
That's right.
Talking sports.
6:20 a.m. WGCV. You can hear us.
With Teddy Studley Hefner and Dr. Rich Sanford. Y'all have a great night, everybody.